Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking Walls podcast. We're here after the game against Fulham. My name is Dave. Unfortunately, no Matt this evening. He's feeling a little bit poorly, bless him, but I'm sure he'll be back next week. But I'm not alone. Alongside me today, I've got our beautiful co-host. We'll start off with Jord Russell. Jord, how you keeping, man?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, all good, thank you. All good. And also, obviously, Mr. Finners. Finn, how's it going?
Yeah, all good, thank you. We turn up for the 0-0 draws. Matt's fine. It's just he don't fancy it.
But
we turn
don't
up.
Fancy
We're
here. Now, as always, going to be talking about the game last weekend against Fulham. Despite it being a goalless draw, still lots to take out of the game. Look at ahead of the Spurs game as well. Got our Betmate preview for that one. If you want to get involved in the Betmate game, obviously it's in the description of the podcast. And then we've got your questions as well. Jord, you weren't climbing mountains this weekend, were you? So you were able to see the game live. What were your initial thoughts of the match overall?
Overall, I thought we played quite well, you know, and I know that probably goes up against the grain that there's people who will be moaning. You look at Fulham at home, and typically you think it's got to be a 3-point game, newly promoted side. Like I said last week, Fulham historically shit away from home in the Premier League. Yeah. But there was a lot of positives in there. I know we'll get into that in a bit more detail, but I do think as well with the penalty so late on in the game, you got to look at it as a point gained rather than 2 lost. With the fact that Jose Sá made the save, there's plenty to build on. There's we're screaming out for a striker. It's obvious. But yeah, that was the only thing that was missing really. I think from a decent performance for overall.
Yeah, Finn, there was plenty of chances early doors as well. Neto had one where I think initially he was given as offside. I've seen the replay and he was actually onside. The Neto one, Hwang had a chance as well. And then obviously the big one is Neto's open goal miss and Podence's miss. How on earth have neither of them gone into the back of the net?
I know the Neto one, to be fair, the screenshot does him dirty a little bit. It's a bad touch in it that comes across. But yeah, those 2 or 3 chances, you had to take one because in those first 10 minutes, Fulham there was like the high line, there was spacing behind, and you knew they're not stupid. Once we've had 2 or 3 bites of the cherry, they go, right, we've got to change this up here. And again, none of those chances fell. So we've got to take one of those. And then it's a really frustrating game after that, really. But no, it's like with the Neto one, I think Hwang should have probably passed it across to Neto on the second chance instead of shoot. And that, basically, they should have done the reverse thing on all of them. But that's Wolves. We don't score many goals. Hopefully that'll click. And we said that in the Leeds game. We're going to say it now that we're nearly there. There's flashes of brilliance, but we do need someone to put it in the back of the net if those 3 can't learn, those 4 can't learn. But yeah, we'll see. Could be an entertaining season, but very frustrating.
Yeah, Jord, I'd seen a stat earlier and I didn't realise this now. I think it's 36 goals 2 years ago, 38 goals last year for Wolves. That's averaging less than a goal a game, which is obviously very disappointing for Wolves. We're creating the chances, aren't we? What is the issue? Is it, are we lacking that striker? Is it just the right person in the middle of the box that's going to be putting these chances away?
I think so. And it's one of those things where natural goal scorers are so hard to come by. And I always feel like you can't teach it, that person's being in the right place at the right time. You almost have a knack for it. And we haven't got anyone certainly on that 11 against Fulham, there's no natural goal scorer. I think Raul potentially is, but we desperately missed that typical number 9 who's going to put the ball in the back of the net for you. And yeah, I think Tim Spears said earlier, it's like we've ordering 5 steaks, not ordering your chips sort of thing. Like we've got all these wonderful players, wonderful attacking players, and you just need someone in there to put the ball in the back of the net, and we're screaming out for it. And maybe it's me being a bit partisan with Wolves, but I generally do feel like we're going to batter someone soon. Like it's just all going to click. Someone we shouldn't be beating, but I think we're going to score in 4 or 5 goals, and I don't know why. I could be completely wrong, and it could be a really overinflated opinion, but I do generally think we've got everything there to actually go and batter someone.
Let's hope that's on Saturday against Spurs. That'd be nice. Now, I remember even under Nuno, we had in the Championship, we had a couple of big wins, but it's like every week we're thinking, oh, we could knock 3 or 4 past these if we really wanted to. And it happens. I think, we're creating the opportunities, aren't we now? I know we haven't, we've only scored once in the last 2 games, but we have created the opportunities. Finn, second half quieting down a little bit. We had the big chance which was the Morgan Gibbs White chance. Pretty much an open goal, but it was a difficult opportunity. It was very difficult for him to, if he put that away.
Yeah, I couldn't quite appreciate it from where I was sat, how open the goal was almost, because it's like you're looking through all the bodies, and it is a difficult chance to take. But yeah, especially that's another one, if you screenshot, it's like, how's he missed? I think, if one of those 4 or 5 chances had gone in, we wouldn't be saying anything. But because they've all been missed, you start to worry that we can't score goals. But no, I echo Jord. I think we are going to smash someone. I think last year around this time, it was the Forest game, wasn't it, where we finally put a few goals past someone, albeit they were bottom of the Championship. But we were seeing we're not winning against Man United, Spurs, and then we do that against them. So hopefully, higher caliber of opposition soon. Maybe Tottenham. They didn't look too great against Chelsea. I mean, we'll get onto that. Probably not. But no, I am confident. As soon as we can start scoring open goals, which is a strange statement to make in the Premier League, we should be fine.
Yeah, and you say that. Obviously, we've got Preston next week. Maybe that is the game where it could be. But the interesting thing about that Preston game is, Nuno, historically would play a really almost rotated team, 23 team. Wolves probably haven't got the depth to be able to do that next week. So, there will be changes in there, but I think it'll still be quite a strong team for Wolves, where you'll probably see the likes of even Adama Traore starting and so on as well. So I'm obviously looking forward to that one as well. Jord, the other main talking point really was the penalty. Fulham, we restricted them quite well. They had the free header in the first half, which, Neves did really well to clear just in front of Jose Sarr. Not too sure what happened there. But the penalty, Ait-Nouri, such a talented player, a player with huge potential, but he's got these just daft errors in his game. We saw it against Leeds. That's another one again on Saturday. What did you think of that situation?
He just switched off, hasn't he? That's ultimately switched off. Didn't know the player was coming in behind him. And just took him out. There's no argument. It's a penalty. It's just one of those things where I think he's a little bit imperfect still. He's a little bit unpolished, and that's why he's at Wolverhampton Wanderers. He's not the complete article yet. He's a phenomenal talent, but he's going to have these ricks in him, and we saw it again on Saturday. Like, switch off for half a second in the Premier League, you get punished for it. It's one of those things, if you're in the Championship, you probably get away with it, but we're far from that now. And he's almost learning on the job a little bit. There's no arguments for the penalty. And I think that's sort of what Bruno was alluding to last season, a little bit when Hover got hung out to dry. He sort of collected. I think it was like inadvertently a little bit at Ait-Nouri as well, because at that time Marcel was in the team a lot. And I think that, I think Bruno sees a player in him, but wants him to improve. But he's had a phenomenal pre-season. I tipped him stupidly, probably for Young Player of the Year, and he's made 2 mistakes in 2 weeks. He's learning. It didn't cost us in the end, but he's got to fix up a little bit, I think.
But as Young Player of the Year, like, you can make mistakes, can't you? When it's Player of the Year, you'll iron him out. It's fine. He'll win it this year. It's fine.
No, we saw, I think you're right. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. We saw Semedo come on, obviously, for a little bit towards the end of the game. And he looked all right, to be fair. I know it was only a small cameo, but it'll be interesting. I don't think Semedo will be ready for Saturday. But, coming on from that, whether he'll be sort of see Semedo on the right and Johnny on the left. I still wouldn't be surprised to see maybe another wing back or full back come in on loan. I don't think you can rely on the 3 of them. Unless, he's really, hoping Hugo Bueno can make the step up, or even someone like Lember Kieser or whatever. But I think I wouldn't be against bringing in another player who could maybe even cover as a centre-half as well. Finn, like you said earlier, though, Jose Sarr made the save. I think when the penalty got given, it looked stonewall from where I was. I'd seen a few people say they didn't think it was a foul, but I don't know what game they're watching. And I thought, Sarr is not getting close to this, but I'm so glad he proved me wrong. But Mitrovic had a bit of a stinker overall, didn't he?
100%. Yeah, there was that one first touch that went about 30 yards into the Steve ball. It was like, he wasn't having a good day.
Yeah.
But no, if you're going to save a penalty, it was basically a 50-50 one, because it was perfect keep height, not in the corner. So, if it had gone left, he wouldn't have got it. But right, he was always going to get that. So, not giving him massive credit. But it's still a good save. And he hasn't given it away. It's normally him giving away the penalties, to be fair, isn't it? So, this is improvement for Sarr. But no, good save. And as you say, when you've saved a penalty in a game, you sort of come away. When you've got a draw, you're like, maybe that is a point gained, and we've saved ourselves there.
Yeah, and then we cleared it, and the VAR was checking. I was like, no, they're gonna order a retake here for coming into the area or whatever. But we got away with it. And Jord, the drama wasn't over, was it? We saw the little spat then between Gibbs White and Mitrovic, and this is my only, I say concern. This is my only thing about Morgan Gibbs White. He's quite an aggressive player. When he makes a mistake, he gets wound up a lot with the referees as well. He tends to snap out at people quite a lot. And it was a nasty challenge. It was a dirty tackle by Mitrovic. Obviously, it led towards an attack, and he's turned and obviously started on him. Bruno Lage went out and said that both players should have been sent off. I think there's more of an argument for Mitro because, yes, a booking for both players for the confrontation, but probably another booking for Mitrovic for the tackle as well.
Yeah, it's one. I come away and I said that I was like, I don't know how it's not a yellow for the tackle and a yellow for the afters for Mitrovic and for yellow for Morgan Gibbs White. The one thing I will say about Gibbs White, he's a bit hot-headed, and he's got this petulance. Might not be the right word to say it, but he gets involved in situations he needs to get involved in.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be honest, like I think he's old man, or someone's told him, always pick on the big guy, and try it, but there's no way he's winning a fight with Mitrovic. I thought Mitrovic would stick him in an armbar and make him submit, or he just ground and pound him. But no, it's one. You know what though? I think on the whole though, his performance was good, Gibbs White, and I think that you saw him like hassling and hurrying and doing the dirty work, and I don't mind seeing it, but there's almost a line with it, and I think like over time you will get yourself in trouble, and teams aren't naive enough; they'll know who they can pick on and wind up and stuff. And he could get, I don't necessarily mind to get the red card if you're actually going to snot someone, or it's worth it. Pushing and like pulling air and like just poking in it, like just if you're going to get sent off, get sent off. Like just that's all. That would be my advice for him. Literally, if you're going to do it, at least knock him on the jaw, basically.
No, he was good, and I suppose it goes back to the same thing with Aït-Nouri. I think there were a couple of times where he drove the ball forward and got everyone excited, but at the same time there were a couple of times with the fancy flicks where it's just like probably with time, with a bit more experience, you'll cut that out your game, or you'll know when to do it and when not to do it. Because I think there were a couple of times where he'd lost the ball there as well. But the one thing that frustrated me as well was, and I suppose, it's almost a little bit of karma because we did it a lot last season, the sort of time wasting and so on. But Rodak, the goalkeeper, ball in his hands, at least 15 seconds, 3 or 4 times. It's meant to be 6 seconds. And okay, referee let it ride. I thought the referee, especially in the second half, had lost control of the game. But then when watching the Spurs-Chelsea game yesterday, the commentary and the pundits were all on about how the referees had been told to stamp down on the time wasting. Like Edouard Mendy got a very early second half booking as well. And I thought, well, John Brooks definitely wasn't told about this because, he allowed it to go on for far too long. It's a little bit frustrating to watch, isn't it, Finn? I suppose when you're on the side of the team that probably should win the game. Yeah. When it was us last season, we probably wouldn't care as much.
Yeah, when we're 1-0 up against Tottenham next week, it's really funny. But this one wasn't. But I think, last year, to be fair, I think they said it was the record lowest amount of time on average, like the ball was in play in a Premier League game. So they had to do something. And again, it's about consistency. It's all we ever ask and we never get it. That if one ref's going to do that to Mendy straight away, if they're not all following through, then what's the point? Because it just adds another layer of inconsistency. But it's always going to happen. But no, it is frustrating. It was very Brentford-y. But I suppose when they're in that situation, like, right, we've missed the penalty, let's just take what we've got here. And I don't blame them because every team's going to do it. And Wolves are probably one of the worst. I know like Southampton were getting picked out for certain dark arts last year as well, like with the tactical water breaks and stuff. So, it's going to happen. And we haven't had the receiving end of it. I was going to say before as well, like with our attacking as well, we've been in front for 15 minutes this season so far. So I think we're going to be looking a lot more positive when we go in front and have that ability to play on the counter a bit more. So, we can shit out and we can look a bit more fluid, hopefully, and do the reverse to other teams.
Fingers crossed. Jord, you mentioned earlier as well about a striker. That's the obvious area that Wolves need to go for. Frustratingly, I was hoping to see a few rumours today. We've not really seen anything. What do you think about a central midfielder as well? I think somebody else in the midfield on Saturday, just to pick up the ball and maybe drive us up the pitch a little bit more, would have worked as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, the obvious profile for that is Núñez. I still think he's waiting to see if Bernardo goes to Barcelona, he gets his dream call from Pep.
City.
I think he's almost using us a little bit at this point, but I'm not going to turn it down if we end up with him. But talking about that though, I think I was quite impressed with Dendoncker the weekend, and like I said last week, people made their mind up on him. He's shit. He's this. He's that. But I think if you give him a bit of consistency in a role, give him a bit of confidence, he'll be fine. And I thought he had a really, really good game. Broke up the play well, did the dirty stuff, covered a lot of hard yards, and yes, we would like that progressive ball carrying midfielder, but we're not good enough, I don't think, to play with just one sitter protecting the back four. I feel like how we play, or at least how we set up the first 2 weeks, is to almost let that fluid front four go and be the expressive ones and go and do that for us. I think if we replaced Dendoncker or Neves, and realistically, let's be honest, Dendoncker with a ball carrying 8, yes, we'd look better going forward, but I think it'll make us even looser at the back, basically. And it's probably something to look at. Tactically, yeah, I like the thought of it, but I'm not 100% sure we're good enough to do it. But time will tell.
Yeah, I've liked Dendoncker as well, and I know we're skipping forward a little bit. I know one of the questions was, what are our thoughts of Dendoncker after the first 2 games? Like I said last week, there was a lot of stick for him after the Leeds game, where I actually thought he did okay, but I think he did a decent job on Saturday as well. I think he offers that protection, but he does a lot of the dirty work. He's not going to ping 60-yard passes like Neves. He's not going to he'll very rarely have a go from 30 yards, like Neves or Moutinho or whatever as well. So I think he's a valuable player to have, and there was a lot of times, like you said, last season where he never had any consistency. He didn't have a nice run in the team, and whenever he does, he seems to be all right. Obviously, with Moutinho returning, it'll be interesting again to see whether he'll be back for the Spurs game, but I would assume Bruno keeps it that way. Podence, for me, Finn, I wasn't sure about his game on Saturday. He was probably, I'm not going to say one of the weaker players, but he just...
I say it. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. You said it for me then. What do you think about that situation? Because I always think surely Morgan would be better through the middle, and Podence maybe out wide. Now we've got Guedes coming in. Maybe Guedes as that number 10. Something was missing, wasn't it, on Saturday from Podence?
Yeah, he has those sorts of games, doesn't he? He's very inconsistent, and when something goes wrong for him early on, like the early booking, and then he didn't really seem to recover from that. I agree. I think there was a few times where if Morgan had an extra yard, like when we were playing the balls out wide and he couldn't quite get to them, I feel like, I don't think Podence is rapid, but I think he's got more of a chance of getting to those, and I'd like to see Morgan in the 10 a bit more. But no, yeah, if they're all going to keep swapping around, it's good that you feel like all of them could play each one. And I think they'll all look better once you've got someone to bounce it off that backboard that I mentioned a few weeks ago. So no, yeah, not too concerned. I think Podence has those sorts of games. And again, like Aït-Nouri, there's a reason he's at Wolves, because sometimes he has a fantastic game, but it's not often enough. But when it is, it's special. It's worth it.
Yeah. And we finally got to see Guedes as well. Jord, I say finally, I mean, he'd only signed a few days before. He actually signed this time last week, didn't he, when we were doing the podcast?
Yeah.
Didn't probably have an effect on the game as much as he would have wanted to. He tried to add that, I thought with him coming on, he was a fresh and fit player. I thought they'd try and get the ball to him a little bit more, but didn't see a lot of him. Do you think he could still be in for a start against Spurs on Saturday, maybe even as the striker?
Yeah, quite possibly. I thought that he made a few intelligent runs. He looked quite lively. It seems like he definitely got a yard of pace about him. He looked quite lively. We didn't really get the ball to him that much, but that comes with time and training, like learning the patterns of play and all that sort of stuff. So potentially, yeah, I think he's well in line for a start against Spurs. Like, let's be honest, the front four, as sort of we've been praising them to some extent over the last 2 games about the end product. They haven't took the chances. So any one of the 4 could really come out for Guedes, I think. See what he can do. Hopefully Raul will possibly back, or at least fit enough for the bench as well, because that gives you another option. Yeah. And yeah, like I think Guedes, he's a good player, and Wolverhampton ones can't spend £27 million on a player to be a squad player. There's a reason why we brought him, and I think Bruno likes him a lot, so I wouldn't be surprised if he was in that starting 11 come the weekend.
Yeah, and lots of options. The bench was looking a hell of a lot stronger, wasn't it? We saw Semedo come in, who we mentioned. Adama Traore as well, Finn. We've had so many discussions over the summer and on these podcasts, and his name has very rarely been mentioned. It was almost felt like it was going to be a given that he was going to be leaving the club, and he still might leave. There's a couple of weeks left of the window. He came on again, probably didn't make as much of an impact as we would have wanted to because he sat a lot deeper. But what do you think his future's like at Wolves, Finn? Do you think if he's happy to come off the bench in games like that on another day, he'd probably make much more of an impact, wouldn't he?
Yeah, and I think there's better game situations for Adama to make an impact. Like he had nothing, did he? Really? I mean, his body language wasn't great, but equally, he didn't really ever have a chance to stretch his legs or do anything. It tickled me as well when Guedes came on. The guy next to me went, and it made me think back because he was like, "Well, at least he ain't getting the Dendoncker treatment." And do you remember Dendoncker didn't play till December or whatever? Yeah, it was mad under Nuno where he'd bed him in for 6 months to learn the system. But no, yeah, it was good to see him. And with Adama, I thought Semedo impressed, but Adama didn't really get a chance to, but also wasn't actively looking for the chance to as well. It was a bit underwhelming, especially when I'd taken mates and a girlfriend that I'd never seen him before. I'm hyping him up. Oh, he's the fastest player in the world. Watch him go. And he just stood there. So a bit underwhelming, but I'm sure, there'll be better situations for him to come on if he does stay.
I probably would have just put him on the last man.
Yeah, they did on one corner, didn't they? Just stood him on the halfway line. I love that one.
I'm not too sure why, but But 0-0 draw. Jord, was it a game we should have won, do you think?
It's one of those things where you got to take your chances when you're on top in these games. If we'd have took one of the early chances, we could have quite easily gone and won that game 3 or 4-0. I think we've conceded a penalty so late. Like say, saving the penalty, it's a point for me. It's a point game rather than 2 lost. There's a lot to take away from the game. A lot of positives. For me, another thing that we haven't mentioned yet is I know we've said about how bad Mitrovic was, but I thought Collins and Kilman dealt with him really, really well. That physicality, winning the aerial balls, comfortable on the ball. We just look solid. We've had nightmares against Fulham over the years in the Championship of the Premier League where, Captain Cody's been rolled and had nightmares. And to be fair, Bolly and Sace haven't dealt with him well either, let's be honest with you. So it was really good actually to see 2 commanding centre-halves have a real solid game. But yeah, like I say, I'm not going to moan about it. It's a point gained and we could have quite easily lost the game with conceding the penalty so late.
Yeah, a nice clean sheet as well. Yeah, Collins and Kilman, rightfully so, have had a little bit of praise over the weekend. And I think we've settled into this back 4. I know, Saturday is going to be the first big test for it. But if we could come out of that, with another clean sheet or maybe, depending on the result, I think this back 4 has been a lot better than expected. And those 2 are obviously going to be at the heart of that too. Still fairly young centre-halves. It's going to be really exciting to see how they can do anyway. But like I said, Saturday is the first big test for Wolves. It's a lunchtime kickoff against Tottenham Hotspur, who had a bit of a feisty game, let's say, yesterday against Chelsea as well. Finn, did you watch the game? What were your thoughts on that match, Tottenham versus Chelsea?
Sadly not. I was in the cinema watching the new Jord and Fin one for anyone that cares. So no, I didn't catch it. I've seen the highlights and I've obviously seen all the stuff kicking off with the managers. But from what I've heard, they were just saying that Tottenham were really lucky, decisions wise, and just fortunate in general to come out with a point. And I backed them to really smash it this season. And I know they did okay against the poor Southampton team. But from what I've heard, it's given me a little bit of promise, and I'm a little bit more confident going into this one. But you never know. Yeah, they've got very, very dangerous players. If Kane, Son, Kulusevski, they can't link up that poorly again, I don't think it's maybe a one-off, but I hope not.
Yeah, I watched the game. I'd seen the Forest West Ham game, which had a lot of drama in it itself, and then caught this one as well yesterday afternoon. And Spurs were poor. I think they were very lucky to, get a point out of the game. I think both goals sort of came against the run of play, really. And I don't know if you caught any of it, Jord, as well. But obviously, Conte, as far as I'm aware, will not be on the sideline against Wolves on Saturday.
Yeah, I think I saw earlier that Ryan Mason's going to be in charge for Spurs on the weekend, and I'm the same as you really with that game. I thought I don't know, Chelsea didn't win. I thought Chelsea were excellent. I thought Spurs were really abject for a team who have been praised so highly during the summer with the transfer business. Definitely coming against the run of play, and it's filled me with some confidence. I think that actually Chelsea play very similar to what we did. We're not a traditional number 9, and that might be exactly how we'll line up against them on Saturday. And they dragged the back 3 out of place a lot. And you know what? We've had some good results against Spurs away. Let's be honest, since we've been in the league as well. So I think I'm quietly confident. about the weekend. But like Finn sort of said, Kane, Son, Kulusevski's as good as you get in really in the Premier League. And if they you can't give them space or chances or time because they will really punish you. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think the back five is where Wolves have really got to get at them, and I think with this new system, with the the 3 or 4 attackers that we're going to have, it's not a strong back line. I don't think personally. I think the wing backs, they still don't know if Perisic is going to start ahead of Sessegnon. I don't think Emerson is a fantastic, a great wing back. If not, obviously Doc's going to come in. There is some talk that maybe he's going to start, and I think you can get at their centre halves as well. So it will be interesting. But when they're at home, you have got Kane, you've got Son. Like you said, you've got some very good attacking players in there as well. Let's jump over to our Betmate teams then, lads. I don't know if you've got them up and ready to roll. Obviously, last week we had the 3 p.m. kickoff games, which plenty of you got involved in, which was great. Matt did actually win a little bit of money on that, so fair play to Matt. And I know he's won a little bit more over the weekend as well. I think I had a very average mid-table finish, which we'll grow on. Jord, we'll start with you. If you've got your team ready, who you looking at starting for Saturday's game?
Yeah, so I am a Betmate virgin, so we'll probably get better as time goes on with the tactics of it all and understanding the game a little bit better. But I've gone for Jose Sarr in goal, Aitneri and Emerson Royale as the defenders, Morgan Gibbs-White as captain, and Kulusevski. Neto as vice and Son making up the forwards. The reason for that is, look, I think everyone's going to go Kane captain, Son vice or whatever. I think you've got to be bold, get your balls out, put them on the table, and if you're going to win, that's the way you do it.
Yeah, I like that. No, to be fair, I'm not going to slag off anyone's tactical insight because I slagged off Matt's last week about Haaland and Haaland blanked. So there you go. Finn, what are you looking at? What's your team saying?
Yeah, Kane, Son, Kulusevski, as previously mentioned, back them all. So I've got my balls out the opposite way against Wolves. Captain Son. And then I've vice-captain Dendoncker in midfield. 8 Nori, who I might go to Semedo, like if I look at the lineups. Do we have time? Yeah, we will have time, won't we? Here's the lineups come out. I thought Semedo looked good. And then I've gone Perisic as well. Because it was fascinating. See, he was taking, I watched this. He was taking corners on one side with one foot and the other side with the other foot. And I like that. So I've put him in. Yeah. Because he's like,
I think he had Martino White or so because he barely beat the first man whenever
I remember. Yeah, they were shit, but he was still doing it. And then Sarr in goal.
No, good. And there, I've gone with Sarr in goal as well. I've gone very Spurs heavy, unfortunately, lads. I've gone Eric Dyer and Emerson at the back. I've gone with Kulusevski and Neves in the middle, and then Kane as captain and Son as vice up top. But like you said, you can pretty much change your team right up until kickoff, Jord as well. So with you being a Betmate virgin, it's not like FPL where it cuts off. And once the teams are out, you can still change your team as well. But that one is huge for this weekend, guys. There's £1,000 payout for that game. So it's £5 in, but £1,000 payout. So a link to that is in the top of the description. If you're a brand new member or haven't joined Betmate before, if you type in TW5 as your referral code, you'll get a £5 free bet once you play it in a prize pot as well. And obviously 18 plus UK residents and gamble aware. Let's get some score predictions as well, lads. Sorry, Finn. Are you going to the game on Saturday, Finn?
I am. Yeah.
Oh, I'm jealous.
I'm gonna. Oh, I'll be optimistic and say 2-2.
2-2. I like it. Any goal scorers are you going with?
Do you want an exclusive? Raul Jimenez.
Oh, there we go, Jord. There we go. Little exclusive, TW exclusive. It's from Finn Morris's mouth. There we go. We normally wait till Bruno says something on Friday, but there you go.
Definitely on the bench, but no.
Jord, what are your score prediction?
I'm going for 3-1 Wolves. I've just got.
Here we go.
I've literally just got to. I don't know why. This might be just really narcissistic of me, and like I just fancy. I don't know what it is. At the moment, I just really think we're going to turn up. It's one of those games where you go, we shouldn't be winning this, but it's just typical Wolves fashion. We'll go there and do a job on them, and I've got nothing to back it up with. It's just how I feel. And hopefully Morgan Gibbs-White's going to hat trick, so I can win the Betmate pot.
Beginner's luck, fingers crossed. It was the same last year, wasn't it? We went into that game against Spurs away. We looked at the team. Kundal was starting. We didn't have much confidence, and we just played them off the park early doors, didn't we? We caught them by surprise, got those couple of goals, and it was a good win. I've gone with a 1-1 prediction. again, I think I'd take a point. We want to try and get off the mark. It's going to be the biggest and toughest test for us yet, with the back four as well. So really intrigued to see how we get on. But yeah, like I said, guys, lunchtime kickoff on Saturday. So this time next week, we'll see if we're all happy and jubilant or depressed as we still haven't won a game after 3 matches. We have got plenty of questions as well, which is great to see. I know we spoke very quickly about transfer rumours earlier on. There will be talk, I'd assume, about Mateus Nunes. Reports in Portugal are suggesting that Wolves are going in for one new and final proposal for the midfielder. George, you mentioned him earlier. I think you're probably right. It's taken this long because he's reviewing his options. Do you think there's any chance that Wolves could still get this one over the line?
I think it's one of those where I think it's pretty nailed on he wants to move to the Premier League regardless, I think. And it seems like Sporting want the money or need the money because they keeps getting offered about. It almost feels like he's waiting until the last 5 minutes of a nightclub. He's tried all the VIP girls. Now he's just after the Gregs to take them. That's how it sort of feels like with us. But, if this is our final offer, yeah, he hasn't got much longer to wait, has he? I still, for the life of me, don't understand how Barcelona are going to afford Bernardo Silva, which makes me think that move's not going to happen, and then we'll get him. But again, that might just be very optimistic of me. But Barcelona will probably print some money and they'll end up getting Bernardo, and it'll all go around the merry-go-round. But yeah, if we can get him, bring it on.
Fingers crossed. Finn, I don't know if you have any information on this. It was a mysterious image going. Well, I say mysterious. It was an image going around on Twitter on Saturday evening. Obviously, the George Mendes was there, which Finn was stood within a meter of. We saw on his vlog. But obviously, the Fosun and the Wolves owner was there. Jeff Shee obviously there, and there was a mysterious man on the left-hand side, which no one seemed to know who it was. I've been told, I don't know how true this is, that it was Qatari investors looking apparently to buy shares of Wolves. I've been told that by I would say semi-reliable source, so don't quote me on it. What do you think of that, Finn? Any money's good money, right? Maybe no.
Yeah, there's a line. Well, I didn't. Yeah, to be fair, that's going back to the Jimenez thing as well, because I was in reception and there was Mendes. I didn't see anyone that you would.
Why were you in reception by the way, Finn? Because I saw the videos. I'm pretty sure that's not North Bank.
No, yeah, it was mad. So basically, I forgot to pick up my Spurs tickets because you get them with WV1. They leave them on the desk so you can pick them up because the delivery is sometimes a little bit unreliable. But I forgot to pick them up, so we've moved them around to reception. So the players are coming out. I literally had to there was Anthony Robinson, someone else, and Hwang. Literally, I walked to get through, and it was mad. So I walked through.
It's like fate, isn't it? It's like that's mad.
Yeah, it was. So there's Mendes, Neves, Sarr, and then Raul's dad and wife, and the new baby, the little boy. So I said, because the family know me for screaming pencil sharpener about their son. So I had a chat to him. And obviously, the dad's flown over, so I've got an inkling he may be fit for the Spurs game. And I spoke to Raul and said, "See you next week," and he just gave me a little smile and said, "Yes." So that's the only exclusive that I've got. Touch wood. But no, yeah, we were there to pick up tickets, but I didn't see any Qatari person. I was going to make a bad joke there, but I'll leave that out until any more. Yeah, we'll or I can make it and we can cut it. No, we'll leave it. We'll care to comment later.
The only other time I bleeped something out was Jord last season. And people clocked pieces.
We'll refrain from commenting unless it gets more concrete. Then we can start making the jokes.
Well, yeah, we'll wait and see anyway. But that's what I've been told in regards to the possible investment. Fosun made no secret that they want extra investment. So let's wait. It might have just been Jeff's mate, who knows? Let's move on to the questions now. Anyway, Ad Sidaway Jordan said, "Do you genuinely believe Bruno is the right man to push us to the next level if we get these two new first-team players or two more first-team players?"
It's one of those things, and he hasn't been back so far to the level or the extent you want a new manager to be back. So I still see this team as Nuno's team a little bit. I don't know, it's sort of 12 months down the line, but it's still the core of that team is still what it was under Nuno. Mm-hmm. It's hard to say, isn't it? I like a lot of what I see. I don't really want to sit on the fence to a question, but I do think time will tell a little bit. If we can if we get Nunes in and spend good money on him and maybe get another one through the door, we can judge him properly at the end of the season. But I think if we do get Núñez in and a striker or whatever that could be, then Wolves fans' expectations rise. And then it's actually where do you move that barometer? Because I think we all said pretty much like 12th to 14th, probably it's a decent season for Wolves. But if you do get someone like Mateus, he's not coming here to be like mid-table, and Fosen aren't spending 27 on Guedes, 45 on Núñez just to be a mid-table team. So, the barometer changes ultimately. So give him this season. I think we'll be able to really judge him at the end of the season if he gets the right players and his players.
Yeah, I saw there was a lot of comments on Saturday, and it sort of I did tweet about it in the end because a lot of comments on about tactical bits and bobs, breaking down the tactics after just 2 league games, and then there were a lot of people saying that Bruno Lage isn't the right man for Wolves, and I thought, right, the fact that this guy's changed the system, we haven't won a game yet, but there's still lots of positives to take out the opening 2 games, and then there were a lot of people that actually replied to me saying, like, he's not good enough, and he's won 1 game out of his last however many. I thought, surely you can't take last season's results into account. Like, especially, it's a whole new system now. We've been back to a little bit more. I would have thought surely we would have drawn a line under last season, and this is his style, this is his tactics, this is his mark on the team now. If in 5, 6, 7, 8 game time it's not worked and it's completely failed, then I understand. But there's still a long way to go with that one. Manny Singh had spoke about Ait Nouri as well. He was asked a question about Ait Nouri. What is the issue? We spoke about that already a little bit. He was asking tactics, poor play, head turned by links to Manchester City as well. This is one for you, Finn. Liam Bagnall said, who would win in a boxing match, Matt Cooper or Alexander Mitrovic?
I don't know.
He's thinking about it.
Yeah, I'd back.
Let's say Matt Cooper with knees because he's got dodgy knees.
Oh yeah, good point. I'm probably gonna have to go Mitro. Sorry, Matt. Especially if it was today. If he's feeling under the weather, I'll back Mitro.
He's a big boy. What do you reckon, Jordan?
Underwhelming.
I think it lasts less than a round. I think if you're getting the Mitrovic from Serbia, like they're from Serbia, like literally, they've cut from a different cloth, mate. So unfortunately, I think Matt would get flattened inside around. Unfortunately,
oh boy, he's not going to be happy listening to this. He's not going to be happy.
Tried to give it
again, we spoke about him a little bit. Liam Berry has asked opinions on Dendoncker first 2 games. Me and George spoke about it a little bit, Finn. What do you think about him? Does he deserve any sort of criticism that he's had so far?
Not this is a bit bold, but probably over the first 2 games, if you averaged out the performances, he's probably been up there with the best player for Wolves so far. I know he's not done anything flash, but 2 solid performances for me. When players have dipped and maybe peaked a little bit more, I think he's been very consistent, and I much prefer him in that role. I know he still went forward every so often, but he's good at he just gets in the way, and I like him there. So quite happy with him so far. I'm not sure. It's like with the Núñez thing. If Núñez comes in, you're assuming Neves is going to go. Whether a Núñez, Dendoncker midfield 2, I don't think that works as well. If Núñez is going to want to get forward as well. Not that I'm turning down a midfielder that Guardiola said is going to be one of the best in the world. Again, a bit picky, but I quite like the dynamic at the moment. They're doing well.
I reckon Neves stays even with Núñez. I reckon a 4-3-3, something like that. I'd probably ditch the number 10, mate. I think in games like Saturday's game, it would work perfectly well, but who knows? You mentioned Núñez, Finn. Andrew Humphreys Jordan said, put a number out of 10. What do you think the possibility of us signing Núñez is? Say right now, right this minute.
Right now, I'm saying 3 out of 10. Right now, I think if it comes to
a little bit higher,
I think if it comes to give it a fortnight and Bernardo Silva's still at Man City, maybe a little bit more. I still think, like I say, surely one of these big clubs are going to take him. I just, if he ends up with Wolves, unbelievable. I don't want to get my heart broken with it all. I still think he'll end up one of these top teams for me.
What day is the deadline? Is it the 31st or the 1st of September? Or does no one know?
I think it's
I can have a quick Google. Can't wait for that live stream already.
Oh, that live stream! I just hope it's busy for that live stream. It's failed every time. Right, whilst you look, Finn, I'll look for another question as well. Where are we? This is one, George. Would you sell Morgan Gibbs-White if it meant that we would sign Núñez?
Yeah. Well, again, it depends if Forest are going to spend the money. Like, I think what we were talking about before, there's not much value in selling Morgan Gibbs-White. But if Morgan Gibbs-White, if they bid £40 million for him, and then we're going to go here you are to Sporting then I think it's fair to say we all would do that deal. Yeah, 100%. If we can get it, yeah, great. 100%.
Have you found any news, Finn, or no?
Yeah, 11 p.m. on Thursday, the 1st of September.
Oh, there you go. So, yeah, we have got about 2.5 weeks to get the Núñez deal over. I'm sure they butted George up. Is he a Mendes client? Oh, Mendes will be able to sort it out for us either way, won't he? Yeah, he'll sort it for us. Final question for you both then. Jord, front four for Spurs. If we go 4-2-3-1 again.
I would go with Neto, Gibbs-White, Guedes, Raul.
Oh, there we go. Exclusive.
Looking at Finn staring at me, yeah, Raul.
Say the line.
It's gonna be. So we have to. Oh, Dave, you cut out any part where we reference Raul.
Yeah.
Finn, what about you? What are you thinking?
Exactly the same. That's what I was. I know it seems harsh to drop Prudence, but he did have a bit of a stinker, and I like that. Feels more settled if you've got Morgan in the 10 for me, and then the quicker players on the wing, and the big backboard to hopefully score some goals as well as hold it up. He may be on the. I think he could be on the bench, but it does sound like he's going to be involved, and I'm very excited as a man who has been starving of a Raul goal in a while. So
if he is starting on the bench, I would go with Neto, Prudence, Gibbs-White, and Guedes. I'm still not sure what's happening with Hwang in terms of, and I've said it a couple of times. I don't know. He started well again. He started well against Leeds. He started well again on Tuesday. But then he just goes quiet. But is it Hwang or is it the team? I just can't. I think it would have been interesting to see how he got on down the left on Saturday. I think
where again what we said last season with Hwang is he's much better when he's running into space, running onto things. And the first half, we're playing in between the fullbacks and the centre halves, and he's running onto things, and he's quick. He's a threat. But then, like I said, there's that period in the second half where we started getting trying to be too intricate again, and he's trying to drop deeper and deeper. And you know my thoughts on his first touch. Get away from touching the ball, and you run that way. That's what I'm saying to him. And first half, it was really, really good, and then there's a few groans, and you can tell he's lacking confidence. He had a few, I think he had 2 bad touches in a row, and like the crowd, there's a few groans, and his head's down, and then that's when Guedes come on pretty quickly for him. But yeah, I do want it to work for him. I do like him, but yeah, I don't think he can trap a football. There you go.
Or a bag of sand. Well, I think, again, thank you everyone on Twitter for sending us your questions. There were loads of questions, so I think we've pretty much covered a lot of what was asked throughout the pod anyway. Guys, obviously for the Betmate game, huge prize pot. We're up against We Are Tottenham TV, a fellow YouTube channel as well. So let's make sure a Wolves fan wins. We'll be on their preview this week, and I'm sure they'll be on ours as well. And there'll be plenty of content coming up on the website as well. Before we finish off, though, Finn, where can people find you if they wish?
Finn is FINERRZ, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you very much.
Bosh, thank you. Jord, what about you?
Jord7 on Twitter.
Thank you very much. I'm Dave as a party on Twitter, and obviously talking Wolves everywhere. Fingers crossed this week there is loads of transfer rumours as well. We'll have plenty of content coming up on the channel, and obviously the pre and post match Tottenham content as well. And I'm not too sure on the podcast plans next week with the Preston game. We'll probably still do our normal weekly podcast anyway before that match. But yeah, if you're listening on YouTube, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, be sure to leave us a 5-star review. But thank you very much for listening, and we will see you all next week.